Hi guys, it's Alex, the stay-at-home reader, and I have a few minutes to do this, so I just wanted to go over everything that I read in January. I'm sure you would have seen most of these pop up at some point, either in a vlog or Friday Reads. On Instagram, I did just post my stack of books, everything I read in January with all the star ratings and the format I read them in. So this is going to be really quick. So the first thing I finished in the month was Bewilderment by Richard Powers. This was a 5-star read about a father and son who decide, in an effort to kind of address some behavioral issues that the son is having due to most likely being on the autism spectrum, you know, at some end of the spectrum, they start doing these experimental neurofeedback therapies using brain scans of the boy's dead mother. And in the background, there's a lot of talk about environmental crisis. The father character is an astrobiologist, and he does these like simulations of visiting other planets. You could probably hear my kid. I think they're like making cutie noises at the dogs, like right at the top of the stairs. So I'm sure you hear them. Anyway, there's a lot of like projections of what life would be like on other planets and what does that mean about life on our planet. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. It kind of left me reeling when I finished. I needed some time to collect myself, but that didn't stop me from getting right on the camera and doing like a little Friday Reads reaction that was absolutely all over the place. But though, yeah, there's not real-time reaction to finishing a heart-wrenching book. There it is. On my Instagram, there is a more thought-out review. Okay, second thing I finished, I guess, was The Betrayal, which is book 1 in the Fear Street saga by R.L. Stine. Garbage. It is, you know, one of those early young adult books from the 90s, written to just keep kids buying books. I used it as like, hey, my brain is broken at the moment, but I want to read a book that I don't have to focus on. So it was good for that. Whatever, 1600s, Massachusetts colony, and a man has arranged a marriage for his son that would be of benefit to them. But the son is in love with this other girl, and so the father accuses the girl of witchcraft. He's in charge, he's the judge, him or his brother, and so of course there's no getting out of that. She and her mother are both burned alive. Her father, turns out, is the one who practices magic, and so he has his heart set on revenge. But the family, the boyfriend's father and his brother, who kind of, you know, are the big shots in town, they also have some tie to magic. So years and years later, when this father is getting revenge for his daughter and wife being burned, he's killed by them too because they're more powerful than he is. And then it just ends with the like, to be continued by book 2. And it was really, really annoying. I didn't like that. Just give me an ending. Tell me what this girl's writing in her journal while the house burns down and like what it has to do with these people from the past. That was annoying. Runaway by Harlan Coben. I read and listened to this book. It got really crazy. It is about a man looking for his daughter who is an addict. And after the man she is living with is attacked, she disappears. And so the main character is trying to find her because he's not sure if she's in danger, if she's been murdered, if she is, yeah, I don't know. But it ends up following this completely separate mystery that doesn't even involve the daughter. Like, yeah, he's still kind of looking for her, but he ends up trying to connect other people to find them to see if they have any idea where her daughter is. And so it got, I don't want to say why exactly it got too crazy, because I guess that's the point of the book and it would be a big spoiler, but it got really fucking crazy. Like, I don't know about that one. Also, Harlan Coben, I read 2 books of his, pretty close proximity to each other. Nate's read another 1 or 2, and he shares with me as he's reading these ones that I don't want to read. And they're like repeating lines or elements or names, sayings, themes that are just annoying. So I don't know if I'll continue reading Harlan Coben. There's one more I may pick up. I'm going to have Nate read it first and see what he thinks. One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. This is a middle grade book that the kids and I started in September as a literature unit. And so because I have like a journal workbook for them to do, they really drag their feet. And then so we started in September. In October we took a break and read like a Halloween themed book, and then with the holidays we end up like kind of half-assing our schoolwork, I'm not gonna lie, and just getting like the spelling, math, science done. But we finally picked it back up in January and we're able to finish it. It's amazing. It's a really great jumping off point that led me into watching a documentary and reading a nonfiction graphic novel about the Black Panther Party. Yeah, it was opened up a lot of great discussion between me and the kids. Recommend that one. And they said they would continue in this series. I'm not sure there's 2 more books by Rita Williams Garcia that follows these sisters, and I don't remember the titles, but the kids said they would continue it. I listened to the D.U.F.F, D-U-F-F, that's Designated Ugly Fat Friend. I listened to that audiobook and I really, really liked it. I was really surprised. I was afraid it would be like overly problematic, and it is a young adult romance set a lot in a high school, but I really liked what it did with the themes of like friendship and forgiveness and coping. It was, sex positive in that, like, yeah, teenagers are having sex and they were careful. Then I watched the movie, and the movie was absolute trash. And so I think the trailer for the movie, which was the way I learned about this in the first place, was what kind of tainted my perception of it. But then I had picked the book up because I did hear people say that they liked the book. So it was sitting on my shelf. So I liked the book, hated the movie. I read The Watcher by James Howe. This is a young adult book from the 90s. It was okay. This was a reread. It's one that I did read back in the 90s. And it's about a bunch of people with their own issues and how they, like, kind of connect or, you know, cross paths over a summer vacation at the beach. One's a lifeguard, one's a kid's on a family vacation. Another is a girl also on vacation. Her parents rented a vacation home, and they're all kind of seeing each other and coming up with, you know, impressions of each other, and then it culminates with them coming together to help one of the characters. So, content warning for child abuse. I read The Prophets. This is a group read for the Queer for Lit book club. This I have a reading vlog for kind of while I was struggling through it. It is not what I expected. I have a review on my Instagram. Beautiful book. Hard to read. It was a lot of work. I struggled through it. Parts of it I found a little too poetic and flowery, but it was worth it. Read it with a friend. I am really glad this was like a group read, a buddy read experience, because while reading I was able to, you know, go in the chat and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. People would say like, oh yeah, up until that point I did too. Think about it this way. I was expecting this, but actually, you know, consider this as a theme or element of the book. And that really helped me get it through. And then of course we had a lovely Zoom discussion. And that's, I don't know if Robert Jones Jr. I don't know if I mentioned the author. I listened to Mouth on audiobook by Antoine Wilson. This was a recommendation from Karen, roving reader. This is a 4-star read. When I, you know, put it through my rating system, I used Pile, which was created by G of Book Roast. 4 stars. It was really short. I liked the format, like the storytelling style of the book. I think it probably would have been a 5-star if it was a short story and not a short novel, because in my opinion there was a lot of fluff that you don't need. But essentially it is about a man who, young man, like recently out of college, performs mouth-to-mouth CPR on someone he encounters on the beach who's drowning. He goes into the water, pulls him out, and resuscitates him. And from that moment, you know, he kind of gets forgotten by the lifeguards and the EMTs who are focusing on this nearly drowned man, and he kind of gets forgotten and left there. And so then, you know, he's kind of shaken up and becomes a little bit obsessed with this person he rescued, and he wants to know, was it a good person? You know, yeah, so he kind of inserts himself into this man's life, and you get to follow him along. That was very interesting, but I think it would have made a better short story for me. I listened to Inferno, a memoir of motherhood and madness by Catherine Cho. Audiobook narrated by the author, and this is an account of a first-time mother, a Korean-American woman living in London. Yep, and she decides shortly after the birth of her son to travel to America. They start in California, work their way across the country, introducing their son to family as they go, culminating in a 100-day celebration, which is, the child is 100 days old, and I guess traditionally Koreans would keep the child home for 100 days and then have a 100-day celebration, and then from that point on the kid is like safe to leave the house. But they kind of flipped that and they did their own version of it and like traveled across continents. But over the course of that Catherine Cho develops postpartum psychosis. And so the memoir opens with her in the hospital and then goes back and tells a story, and it goes back and forth between her time in the hospital and what's led up to that point. And it was beautifully told, even not having experienced as extreme, like, I had some postpartum depression that I dealt with quietly, which was probably a mistake. I should have been more open about it. So yes, advocate for your mental health. But I had very pleasant pregnancy and birth experiences, so very different from this woman in the story, and yet you can relate to that early motherhood, just being overwhelmed, all of the opinions flying at you. So it was really well told. I recommend that short memoir and audio. And I read Swimming Lessons. This is a poetry collection by Lili Reinhart, and skip it. 1 star. I mean, I finished it because it was like a breeze to get through. Skip it. Hummingbird Salamander by VanderMeer. I hated it. The main character was the worst. It was really fast paced, but in a way that, like, it never slowed down and made sense. Like, the characters just kept moving, and like everyone was connected in a way that I'm like, but why? Who? Pass. It didn't completely turn me off from VanderMeer, who I had not read before up until Hummingbird Salamander, but I am interested in some of his other books. And someone from my book club, which is the reason I read this in the first place, was because it was voted on by my book club. So someone else assured me this was not his best work, and that I should read Born, and that also this is the Southern Reach series trilogy, expanded trilogy, was also worth reading. So I'm not giving up on VanderMeer, but I did not like Hummingbird Salamander. The best parts of the books were when he kind of broke away from the action and gave you glimpses of what was happening environment-wise. Like, the world is falling apart. Society is just crumbling. And those were the best parts of the book, surprisingly, for me, who I don't always love to read that, although this year that seems to be what I'm attracted to as far as like reading themes. Go figure. And then I read the graphic novels Labyrinth Coronation. I had volume 3 that I hadn't read before, but I went ahead and reread volumes 1 and 2 before moving on to 3. And that was my reading month. If you go to my Instagram, you will find full reviews for, actually not many of them. I think I kept up with stories more. There's definitely a review for Hummingbird Salamander and one for The Prophets. So read those if you haven't yet. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.